So, one of the things I talk about in my new book, Passion Struck, is that if we want to create this ideal life that we're all shooting for, if you examine self discrepancy theory, you really have to go from your actual self, which is who we are in the exact moment today, to becoming our ideal self, which is who we could become. And in order to do that, I think the alignment of actions, ambition, and aspiration are absolutely critical. And people think that they're interdependent, but they're actually very closely related to each other and work off of one another. And I think it's the intentional choices that you make, something that I often refer to as micro choices, that help you to align your actions or your choices that you're making on a daily basis so that they're done in concert with your ambitions and your long term aspirations. And the way that I like to explain this is we all have the opportunity to make choices every single day. Oftentimes, we get into this repetitive motion of being unintentional. It's almost like we're living our lives as a pinball instead of being really intentional about the deliberate actions that we're taking. So, that's in a nutshell how I think about intentionality. And in the scenario I was just describing about the Naval Academy, those midshipmen who made the decision to cheat on that exam weren't really being intentional about what that choice was going to amount to if it counteracted with their ambition and aspiration of graduating from the Naval Academy and becoming an officer. But in some ways, you could say it was unintentional because we all got what was considered to be the gouge. But if they were truly being intentional about graduating, then they wouldn't have even used the gouge in the first place.
That's really helpful, John, and I really resonate. It's funny that you use the word alignment because I will say that there's a paper that I haven't written yet. I have to write this book, and also I'd love to write this paper, and both of them are unfinished, but I will finish both of them. The paper that I'm talking about is on really what the good life is, right? Which every philosopher, every religious tradition, and all of us have grappled with. Like, what is the good life? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? What is that ideal self? Like, what is an ideal life? The reason why alignment has become like the center of gravity for this paper, and this is a paper with me and other psychologists and philosophers as well. Maybe that's why the paper isn't written yet. There's too many of us. But what we've all agreed upon is that in every religious and philosophical tradition, and certainly supported by modern science, that what the good life is, it must at its core be some kind of alignment. And just as you say, do my actions align with my ambitions and goals? Do those ambitions and goals align with my long-term aspirations, my core personal values? What will be true of me and what I honor in myself until my dying day? Is there alignment or is there misalignment? And is there alignment between my goals, aspirations, and actions and what you're trying to do, the person next to you, society at large? So I think alignment is a very special word, and it gives me a sense of what you mean by intentionality. I think this idea of waking up to that thing that you just did does or doesn't align with those ambitions and aspirations, like being conscious and being aware, I think that is the first step toward making alignment where there isn't. And when you talk about this kind of awareness and intentionality, just this morning, I was reading an article that was published in the 1950s, so a long time ago, and before either of us was born. And it's written by Solomon Asch, who, of course, is one of the great psychologists and very well known for studying the effect of the group on the individual. So I'm thinking about the Naval Academy and kids cheating. And what Solomon Asch did was this pioneering work with an experiment like a little play, and you don't know that everybody else is an actor because you just signed up for an experiment. You walk into a room and you're said, like, oh, this is like a vision task. We're studying vision and we're going to show you these lines and they're different lengths. Your job is to say, is this line the same as which line, choice A, B, or C? And you're sitting there in this group and you think everybody else is a volunteer, but they're not. They're actors and they have a script. And the script says that on the first question, and these are very simple, like, oh, it's B. Clearly it's B. Oh, this one, it's C. Clearly it's C. So the script says that on the first couple of questions, the actors are all told to give the correct answer. The real volunteer goes last. So it's going, and the volunteer is probably thinking, wow, this is going to be a really boring hour. And then on the third or fourth question, the other people who you think are volunteers, but they're actors following a script, they give the wrong answer, but they say it with total conviction. Oh, B. And you're looking at this line and you're thinking, B? What? Wait. You rub your eyes and you're like, B? And you're like, no, wait, it's got to be C. The question is, what do you do? And what Solomon Asch discovered, and one of the most important discoveries that's ever been made in science, is that the power of the group is enormous. And healthy, honest volunteers will give the wrong answer when the rest of the group gives the wrong answer. And in the introduction to this article, in Scientific American, written in the 1950s. Solomon Asch says, in life, it's like we can be sleepwalking. In life, it's like we're just automatically doing what the people around us are doing that we're not even aware. And we have to wake up to what's really going. We have to wake up to the influence that other people have so that we can really have anything like true freedom. So in other words, I think that when you talk to me about intentionality and then I try to bring it all the way back to self-control, et cetera, I do think one thing to think about when we think about intentionality, it is like a kind of waking up to what am I doing? What was the last thing I ate? Like, when did I go to bed? What did I just say in that argument? Like, how did I write that email? And then asking, like, okay, hold on, does that align with the goals that I wrote into my journal at the end of yesterday? And what are about my true values, which I know well? And I think that is, to me, where intentionality and self-control overlap, because the definition of self-control of scientists like me who study it is the alignment of your actions with your long-term values and interests, as opposed to your short-term impulsive desires that you will later regret.
Angela, thank you so much for saying that because it really correlates to a conversation that I had with Hal Hirschfield, who's a professor at the Anderson School of Business at UCLA about life crafting, which is something that I really looked at.
The thing is, John, you're friends with all my friends, and I'm like, oh gosh, I love that. I love Hal too.
And Hal is like the nicest guy.
He's the nicest guy, and guess what? His grandmother, who's 100, I think, lives in the same senior living facility as my mom, and they're friends.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible. Who would have thought?
yeah, coincidence.